Distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good day. The UN General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on December 10, 1948, and 2 years later declared December 10th the Human Rights Day. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is based upon human liberty and equality, and the first document in history that details 30 fundamental human rights. It is also the most widely translated document, available in more than 500 languages. Human rights is a universal value that has been recognized as the foundation of freedom, justice, peace, and security, as well as of the sustainable development of human society. Inspired by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United Nations adopted the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in 1966. To further clarify and act upon the spirit of human rights, the two covenants and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights combined into the International Bill of Human Rights, the most important human rights bill in the world, and the very foundation of international human rights law. On this important day, we are once again reminded that every human being is endowed with fundamental human rights. No person or public power should infringe or deprive others of their basic human rights. These rights should be respected, protected, and jointly defended. American human rights activist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Mr. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, said human rights violations harm us all. Only when human rights are recognized and honored will peace be achieved. Respect for human rights is the common linkage between democratic nations. However, fundamental human rights are violated in many parts of the world. Human rights defenders, following the calling of conscience, are taking to the street and demanding that public authorities respect and protect citizens' civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights. The calling of human rights is heard. Everyone is urged to take immediate action for the future of their country. Human rights are at the core of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable development cannot be achieved without human dignity. We have to create equal opportunities in order to achieve sustainable goals. We are determined to take actions to protect human rights and remain united as we recover from the pandemic and go beyond into a brighter future. The United Nations is calling on world citizens to stand up for human rights and put human rights in the center of the post-pandemic world, urging social reforms to create an international community built upon freedom and fearlessness with more inclusiveness, resilience, and equality. The world is now full of uncertainties and challenges. Global problems such as war, environmental changes, extreme climate patterns, excessive exploitations of resources, and unequal distribution have provoked the COVID-19 pandemic and Mother Nature to fight back, causing unpredictable and devastating disasters for mankind. In the chaos, human rights are under immediate threat from special interests and corrupt government bureaucracy. The chaos stems from the same root. Michelle Bachelet, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said there is a vaccine to hunger, poverty, inequality, and possibly, if it is taken seriously, to climate change, as well as to many of other ills that face humanity. The name of that vaccine is human rights. We should properly apply the human rights vaccine to help us build more resilient, prosperous, and inclusive societies. Our common humanity is rooted in human rights, equality, justice, and freedom. These core values need to be reiterated, heard, put into practice. Then the human society will be able to avoid violence and achieve stability and peace. Under the doctrine of cause and effect, just like the rule of heaven and earth, wrongdoers will eventually bear the consequence. To find solutions, it is necessary to go back to the root cause of the problem and change the root cause. Heart is the root cause of our problems. Selfishness causes people to forget the respect between people. True human rights attainment requires basic respect among people. There will be no peace, equality, democracy, and fraternity with no human rights. Human rights comes from conscience. Conscience is the origin of all virtues. Compassion is the footing of morality. Human rights is based upon conscience and love. Humanity is connected with compassion. French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau said a principle of justice and virtue exists in the depth of soul. This is conscience. In recognition that conscience is the key to change the world, the UN General Assembly declared April 5th the International Day of Conscience in 2019. In recognition that love and peace is the most important foundation for sustainable development and mankind's common well-beings. The Federation of World Peace and Love promoted the declaration of International Day of Conscience to urge people to seek win-win solutions with peace and harmony in order to solve national and international crises. All world citizens are encouraged to nurture love in their hearts, to strike a balance in the pursuit of economic, social, cultural, spiritual, technological, and educational development. Conscience is the most needed universal vaccine. On Human Rights Day, we look forward to working with states, organizations, and world citizens to protect, promote, and practice human rights as we meet challenges with creative and effective solutions. On the path to securing universal human rights, we need to have faith, merit, strength, and courage to overcome obstacles as we work hand in hand with like-minded, and to continue the work of securing a human rights-friendly environment. We need to focus on the collective well-being inherent to our conscience. Let's create sustainability and a united world with human rights, dignity, peace, equality, freedom, stability, and happiness. May we all have peace and health. May the world have prosperity and harmony.